Hey guys, so for today's video, what I want to do, instead of creating a card from scratch, I want to show you how you can take some basic cards that you may already have on hand in your stash and kind of zhuzh them up a little bit. So I have the Hooray paper, I don't know. I have the cards from the Hooray collection. And you know, what I really like about these is that if you don't like the design on the front, on the back, this is not a good example, neither is this one, but on the back they have blank patterns as well. So you can actually kind of use the back as a starting point. They're pretty neutral. But I went through these and some of them are really great and have like really cool imagery on the front, but some of them are a little plain, like this yay one and this one with the presents. I like the presents, you know, but it's just kind of flat with like the happy birthday there. So what I figured I could do is go through my stash and actually like pull out some other things that are birthday related and see if I could use some of those maybe as like layers, or I don't know, just kind of something to make these cards like a little bit more interesting. So I've got some birthday labels there, and then you guys might have seen this when I did kind of like the introduction to all this. Got some of these and these, I've been kind of itching to use these, so I'm probably going to use some of these today. But what I wanted to do is just kind of show you this process. I'm going to just play around with it. I'm going to switch it over to music, but I'm going to play around and kind of see about layering on top of these where you can kind of still see the background image and it adds to the card, but I want to, like I said, just kind of zhuzh them up a little bit. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm going to switch it over to music and probably speed it up just a little bit because my process, usually before a video I kind of plan out and I have no plan. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, so you're going to see that process.
So I'm going to start by kind of organizing all the stuff that I have that I've pulled out to kind of use on these cards. And as I go around through various pieces of, die cuts and stickers and things like that, I kind of figure out what colors work and which ones don't, and maybe figure out, what coordinates best and what doesn't. So I'm gonna kind of go through these, eliminate some of the things in my pile so that I have fewer choices, and then just kind of play around with making stacks on what I think will go on each card. So there's a lot of stuff that I pull out in the beginning that I plan to use that I don't end up using after all. But that's okay, it's a lot of trial and error, it's a lot of seeing what works and what doesn't work, and sometimes your original plan just doesn't really work, or it doesn't really work with the size of the card, or maybe the color scheme, or maybe you have some elements that maybe take priority. You really want those things to go on the card and they end up competing for space or competing for focal points with other things. So that's what I'm doing right here. I really wanted to use up things that were not Crate Paper Hooray collection. I wanted to pull together all of these other random items that just are hanging around in my stash, kind of sad and lonely and looking for a home. So I wanted to use up a lot of those. Now I don't stick to that 100% through this. There's a couple of times where I needed to supplement things, or I just needed something extra to complete the card that I didn't have as part of some of these other collections. So I'm going to start by working on that yay card, and I have this cupcake that I have had forever. It has been in my stash for as long as I can remember. I don't remember where they came from. I don't know if I got it in a stash. I know that there used to be two of them, and I used one at some point, but I don't even remember when that was. So I've had this dimensional sticker for a really long time. Dimensional stickers are tough for me because if you guys have, kind of followed me for a while, you know that I really tend to favor things that are very flat, because most of my crafting cards, journaling, I want things to be as flat as possible, because when you mail things that are bulky, it costs you extra money to send it through the mail, or it may not make it through the mail. And whenever you journal, you know, the more bulk you put into your journal, the more difficult it is to actually write in the journal and for it to even close. So I tend to favor things that are very, very flat. So I've got a lot of dimensional materials in my stash that they're beautiful and I love them and I want to use them, but I struggle quite a bit. So that cupcake is finally getting a home. Yay! And it goes perfect with the card. Yay! So now I'm just flipping through some of the things, mostly the die cuts, to see what else I can layer with this. And I'm also trying to use up those scraps as well. So you'll see that I've got that teal strip behind the cupcake. That was actually a branding strip off of one of the pieces of paper that I've already used from my 6x8 paper pad. I'm also trying to use up a lot of those Die So Clear stickers, and I end up using a ton of them in another project, which you guys will see, but I do incorporate, you know, some of those banners here across that cupcake. So just adding or embellishing a little bit more to that cupcake, making it a bit more fancy schmancy. And you can see that I used a scrap to kind of layer behind it as well, to kind of anchor it against that pink background of the card. So here I am using those Daiso stickers. There's a lot of balloon stickers that came in that Daiso pack. The only thing about it is, in every single set, so there's 3 sets, so there's the one with the hearts there, and on that white balloon it says enjoy, and then there's 2 other sets. There's one with like what I have right there, there's a gold, a pink, and a teal striped one. And on the gold balloon, I believe it says nice shot. They're supposed to be put on photos, so I'm assuming that nice shot is a commentary on, you know, this is a nice photo. But it just doesn't work in this situation, obviously, because there's not a photo there and it looks a little awkward. And then the other set of balloons has a balloon that says smile, which is not so bad. You know, it works for some of these. But I try to use those balloons in a couple of these projects, and I try to use them in a way that they kind of hang off the edge of the page, so those balloons that have the words on them actually get cut off because they're off the side. You also see me struggling here with my adhesive. My ATG gun, or my ATG runner, I don't know what happened, but that little roll of adhesive that you see me using right there is from my ATG, and I have never had this happen to me before, but I got down to the end of the roll of my adhesive, and somehow the tape had switched from one side of the roll to the other side of the roll. So instead of it being, you know, put down on paper when I'm using my ATG, it was actually spinning back up into the waste paper or the backing paper spool. I don't even know how that's possible. I don't know how that happened. I don't know if it's something that I did or the roll, it's a defective roll. I have no idea, but it's the weirdest thing ever. So, you know, it was so close to being used up. It was down to the end. So I just pulled it out of there, and I have this problem. I don't like to waste things. A lot of you guys are probably the same. If you're a crafter, you know, we hoard things. We think everything is useful. So, you know, and those ATG refills, you know, not cheap, not even a little bit cheap. So I was determined to use up every single inch of that adhesive. So that's what I did. I pulled it out of there and I just started using it with my hands as you would just any kind of roll of double-sided tape. It was a little bit sticky, more than a little bit sticky. It was very sticky. But again, because it was down to the end, I didn't mind, and I ended up using it up by the end of this project, I believe, or the start of another project. It got used up real quick. So you see me trying to make those cupcakes work, and they're just not working. I really want to use up those little cupcakes in the upper left-hand corner, but they just don't want to work. They don't want to work on any project. I don't even know what to do with those. I do end up using them in another project, which you'll see, but they were troublesome. So to finish off this card, I do end up using a dimensional sticker from the Hooray collection. It's got that star on it, and I needed something to tie in the blue, and I needed something to kind of layer over that cupcake. And I tried to use those little smaller cupcakes, and like I said, they just weren't working, but this star seems to really pull it all together in the color scheme, and it also kind of takes your eye, you know, from the bottom of the card to the upper right hand side. I'll show you guys some more close-ups at the end, of course, too. So this card is going to be a little bit simpler because I have that huge shaker piece from Hobby Lobby. So that itself right there is a huge focal point. And really, all I needed was a way, again, to kind of ground it to the card. So I'm going to cut some strips, and I'm going to play around with some of my scraps to see, you know, which layers work best. But that's going to be the majority of this card. So if you have some of these shaker pieces in your stash, which a lot of you probably do, because I've seen so many videos online where people do Hobby Lobby hauls, and this was like the thing to get. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have this. This is almost like an instant card, and it's an instant wow factor, and you don't even have to do a whole lot. You just stick that thing on a card. But here I am going to layer up some scraps because A, I want to use up those scraps, and B, I just wanted to have something so that it wasn't just kind of floating on the top of the card. So I'm going to layer those up. And then there is you might be able to see it, there's a yellow strip over to the right. It says Celebrate. It's kind of hiding behind my little die cut bin and sticker bin right there. But that's actually what my sentiment is going to be. Here I go using that adhesive again. Super awkward. Sometimes it wants to stick and sometimes it doesn't. You know, the one good thing about this quarantine and being at home and crafting so much, I have probably gone through, let's see, 4, 5, 6 ATG refills, okay, which is a lot of adhesive because I've been doing a lot of crafting. But the really great thing about this is, for the first time in forever, I don't know how long I've had this ATG, but for the first time in forever, I have finally been able to load those refills correctly. I've been doing it incorrectly for years, guys, years. So much wasted adhesive. And I have finally, because I've been reloading it so much, I have finally learned how to load it without wasting any adhesive, and how to put it in correctly the first time, and not put it in and take it out and put it in again and, you know, try and figure out what's going on. I have finally loaded it correctly. So small victories, you know, it's not a Nobel Peace Prize, but it's pretty big in my world. Finally able to load that ATG correctly. So I'm just, you know, trying to finish this guy up. I know I wanted to use that yellow Celebrate piece, but I wanted to maybe add another focal point as well, something smaller. And I'm looking through those stickers, and even though some of those would really work, I decided not to use them because this shaker bit is already pretty thick, and I didn't want to add any more bulk. So I'm just going to leave it as that top layer there. I'm going to add my Celebrate, and then I'm going to end up using one of those teeny tiny cupcakes, which I'm not super convinced I like, but we'll see. But that pretty much wraps it up for this card. So I'm going to come back here in a minute and kind of talk to you in real time and tell you my thoughts on this and show you guys some close-ups.
Okay, so I am sort of happy with how these turned out. I really wanted to make sure that I incorporated things from my stash, not just from the Hooray collection. I did end up using some things here and there just to kind of tie it together. Not on this one, these are all pieces from other collections or just other places. But here I really wanted something to kind of tie this all together with the colors, and I wanted there to be some sort of sentiment. So I did end up using that, and then these hearts, as you guys saw. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. I'm not sure about this cupcake. I might take it off, and as you guys saw, I had issues with the adhesive. But I really want to encourage you to kind of dig through your stuff as well and see if there's some things that might help supplement or kind of even beef up a collection that you might have but you don't have a ton of stuff for. Dig through your stash. You know, if you're a crafter and you've gone out and purchased things and collected things over time, most likely you have a bunch of extra stuff in your stash. So again, I hope this inspired you guys. I will be back with more card tutorials as well throughout the month, so I hope that you guys will join along with me. And if you haven't checked out my the giveaway for this month, please go and have a look at that, and I hope you'll join. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.